Zarbok slouched against the command chair of his scout vessel, the Peaceful Venture, watching the blue-green world grow larger on his view screen. His species, the Valerians, prided themselves on their diplomatic skills and peaceful first contacts with primitive species. Earth was just another assignment, another box to check off before his well-deserved vacation on the pleasure moons of Rigel 9. Captain, approaching Earth orbit in 5 minutes, announced Laurel, his navigation officer, a gangly Valerian with purple skin that seemed perpetually moist. Fantastic, Zarbok replied, not bothering to hide his boredom. Another primitive species to welcome to the galactic community. Let me guess they will either worship us as gods or try to kill us. Anyone want to place bets? His second-in-command, Trelva, snorted. That's not fair, Captain. Sometimes they do both. The bridge crew laughed, a sound like wind chimes being strangled. Seriously, though, Zarbok continued, straightening his uniform. The Galactic Council has high hopes for these humans. According to preliminary reports, they have developed nuclear technology without completely obliterating themselves. That puts them ahead of at least 60% of species at this development stage. Laurel looked up from his console. Captain, I'm detecting numerous artificial satellites in orbit. Primitive communication technology, mostly. Oh, and several with what appear to be weapons? Zarbok waved a dismissive hand. Standard paranoid primitive behavior. They are probably just as scared of their own shadows as they are of the stars. Trelva approached with a data pad. Sir, I have compiled the cultural briefing. Humans appear to organize themselves into approximately 195 separate political entities called nations. Their dominant languages include English, Mandarin, Spanish, and several others. They are omnivores, bipedal, and apparently obsessed with something called social media. Wonderful, Zarbok said, rolling his 3 eyes simultaneously. So which of these nations should we contact first? Preferably one that won't immediately dissect us for science. Trelva consulted her datapad. The Galactic Council recommends the United States, China, or the European Union as primary contact points, as they represent significant political and military power. Let's go with the United States, then, Zarbok decided, standing up and stretching his 7-foot frame. Their entertainment broadcasts seem the most welcoming. I particularly enjoyed their documentary series about an oddly shaped yellow creature living in an underwater fruit. The bridge crew stared at him blankly. Cultural references later, Captain, Trelva reminded him. First contact protocols now. Right, Zarbok said, moving toward the diplomatic preparation chamber. Prepare the universal translator, ready the gift packages, and for the love of the 7 moons, make sure the hull is properly sterilized this time. Remember the Zorgon incident? Their entire northern continent is still covered in purple fungus. As Zarbok prepared for the diplomatic mission, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about this planet. The humans had advanced quickly, perhaps too quickly. Their broadcast showed a strange mix of compassion and violence, creativity and destruction. Most species tended to lean more heavily in one direction or the other. Captain, called Laurel from the bridge. We have been spotted. Multiple Earth tracking stations have locked onto our position. Expected, Zarbok replied, adjusting his ceremonial robes. Begin broadcast of the universal peace message on all frequencies. The ship's communication officer Plex, a short, stocky Valerian with an impressive crown of sensory tentacles, activated the broadcast system. Message transmitting, Captain. Translation matrix adapting to Earth languages. Zarbok nodded. Take us down, Laurel. Aim for their capital city. Washington, was it? Yes, Captain. Setting course now. The sleek scout vessel began its descent through Earth's atmosphere, the hull glowing slightly as it absorbed the heat of entry. Zarbok watched the approaching landmass on the view screen, noting the sprawling cities, the vast networks of roads, and the peculiar tendency of humans to build structures in perfectly straight lines. Sir, Plex called out, his voice tinged with concern. We are receiving a transmission from the surface. It's not friendly. Put it through, Zarbok ordered. A harsh voice filled the bridge. Speaking in English, unidentified aircraft, you have entered United States airspace without authorization. Divert your course immediately, or you will be treated as a hostile entity. This is your only warning. Zarbak blinked his 3 eyes in confusion. Did they just call our state-of-the-art interstellar vessel an aircraft? That's adorably primitive. Respond with Peace Protocol 7, Plex. Plex transmitted the response. People of Earth, we come in peace as representatives of the Galactic Council. We bring knowledge, technology, and friendship. Please direct us to an appropriate landing site. There was a pause, then, unidentified aircraft, you have failed to comply. Interceptors have been scrambled. Interceptors? Zarbak repeated, bemused. What do they think they are going to do with? The ship suddenly rocked violently. Captain, Laurel shouted. We are being fired upon. Earth vessels approaching rapidly. What? Zarbak stumbled, grabbing his chair for support. That's impossible. We are broadcasting peace signals on all frequencies. Another impact shook the ship. Trelva rushed to the tactical console. Sir, they are using primitive missile technology. Our shields are holding, but the diplomatic vessel isn't designed for combat. Zarbak's expression darkened. Are they insane? We are clearly not attacking them. He straightened his robes, now slightly askew. Continue broadcasting the peace message. Maybe there's a translation error. Captain Plex called out, I'm receiving multiple broadcasts from their media networks. They are reporting an alien invasion. An invasion? We are one diplomatic vessel. Zarbak exclaimed, his confusion turning to irritation. Show me. The view screen switched to an Earth News broadcast. A human female with perfectly arranged hair was speaking urgently. Breaking news. The Pentagon has confirmed that an unidentified object of apparent extraterrestrial origin has entered U.S. airspace and is not responding to communication attempts. Military forces have been mobilized, and civilians are advised to remain calm but prepared. Not responding? We have been broadcasting non-stop. Zarbak shouted at the screen. Another impact rocked the ship. Captain, our port stabilizer is damaged, reported the engineering officer, Drav. We can maintain flight, but precision landing will be difficult. Zarbak ran a hand over his face, his gray skin flushing blue with frustration. This is ridiculous. Trelva, prepare a small shuttle. I will go down personally with a diplomatic team. Surely they won't shoot at an obviously unarmed shuttle. Trelva looked concerned. Captain, protocol dictates that in case of hostile response, we should retreat and report to the Council. And tell them what? That we ran away at the first sign of trouble? That humans are too aggressive to join the galactic community? Zarbak shook his head. No, there must be a misunderstanding. We need to establish direct contact. As Trelva reluctantly prepared the shuttle, Zarbak selected his diplomatic team himself, Trelva for security and Plex for communications. They boarded the small, sleek shuttle, designed to be as non-threatening as possible with its rounded edges and gleaming white surface. Launch when ready, Zarbak ordered, settling into the shuttle's command seat, and maintain broadcast of the peace message. The shuttle bay doors opened, and the small craft slipped out from the belly of the main vessel. Below them, the sprawling cityscape of Washington, D.C. was visible, its geometric layout and prominent monuments easily recognizable from their cultural briefing. Look at that, Plex, Zarbak said, pointing to the Washington monument. They built a stone spike pointing at the sky. If that's not a hello up there, I don't know what is. Plex didn't share his captain's optimism. Sir, I'm detecting multiple Earth aircraft converging on our position. Military class. Maintain course, Zarbak said firmly. Head for that large open area near their governmental buildings. The National Mall, I believe it's called. The shuttle descended slowly, deliberately, its movements designed to appear as non-threatening as possible. Zarbak could see crowds of humans gathering below, pointing up at them. Some were running away, others stood transfixed. Humans approaching the landing zone, Trelva reported. Armed forces forming a perimeter. Perfect, Zarbok said, nodding. A proper welcoming committee. As they descended to about 100 meters above the ground, the first shots were fired. The captain. Plex shouted as bullet impacts pinged against the shuttle's hull. They are shooting at us. I can see that, Plex. Zarbok snapped, his optimism finally cracking. Shields up. The shuttle's defensive shields activated, creating a slight blue shimmer around the craft. The bullets now bounced harmlessly away, but the message was clear: they were not welcome. Sir, what do we do? Trelva asked, her hand hovering over the weapon controls out of instinct, though the diplomatic shuttle had only minimal defensive capabilities. Zarbok's mind raced. This was not how first contacts were supposed to go. The Valerians had contacted hundreds of species, and while some initial caution was expected, outright hostility before communication was rare. We land anyway, he decided. Right in the middle of their mall. If they want to shoot an unarmed diplomatic envoy on their own soil, in front of their own citizens, let them try. The shuttle descended rapidly now, no longer concerned with appearing non-threatening. It touched down on the grassy expanse of the National Mall, creating a circular zone of flattened grass around it. Atmospheric analysis complete, Plex announced. The air is breathable but contains numerous pollutants. Recommendation: limited exposure. Noted, Zarbok said, standing up and adjusting his ceremonial robes one final time. Trelva, maintain shields around the shuttle. Plex and I will disembark. If something happens to us, return to the main vessel and get out of here. Trelva looked ready to protest but nodded reluctantly. Zarbok moved to the shuttle door, taking a deep breath. Well, Plex, ready to make history? Either as the first Valerians to establish contact with humans, or as the first to be killed by them. Plex's sensory tentacles writhed anxiously. I prefer the first option, Captain. As do I, Plex. As do I. Zarbok pressed the door control. Let's meet the neighbors. The shuttle door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a ring of human military personnel surrounding their landing site, weapons raised. Beyond them, a crowd of civilians had gathered, held back by more security forces. The air was filled with the sound of helicopters overhead and the distant wail of sirens. Zarbok stepped out onto Earth's soil, Plex close behind him. He raised all four of his arms in what the cultural briefing had indicated was a universal gesture of peace among humans. People of Earth, he began, his voice amplified by the translator device at his throat. I am Captain Zarbok of the Galactic Council vessel Peaceful Venture. We come with greetings from the United Species of the Galaxy and an invitation for humanity to join our community of civilizations. The human soldiers didn't lower their weapons. One of them, wearing more elaborate insignia than the others, stepped forward slightly but remained at a cautious distance. Identify your purpose and origin, the human demanded. Zarbok blinked slowly, confused. I just did. We are representatives of the Galactic Council, here on a diplomatic mission. The human officer's face remained impassive. Why did you ignore our warnings and enter our airspace without permission? We responded to your communications, Zarbok explained, trying to keep the exasperation from his voice. We broadcasted peace messages on all frequencies. Did you not receive them? The officer exchanged glances with another human nearby. There seemed to be confusion among them. Taking advantage of the moment, Zarbok reached slowly into his robes. Immediately, every weapon around them was aimed directly at him. Easy, he said calmly. I'm simply retrieving our gift, a traditional offering during first contact. Moving with deliberate slowness, Zarbok withdrew a small, ornate box from within his robes. It was made of a material that seemed to shift colors in the sunlight, from deep blue to purple to gold. This contains the seed of knowledge, Zarbok explained. A data crystal containing basic information about the galaxy, its species, technologies, and cultures. It's compatible with your computer systems and contains no harmful elements. He took a step forward, extending the box. The sharp crack of a gunshot split the air. Zarbok looked down in disbelief at his chest, where a small hole had appeared in his ceremonial robes. Blue blood began to seep outward from the wound. "The captain," Plex cried out, rushing to support him as he stumbled backward. Behind them, Trelva's voice came over the shuttle's external speakers, "Return to the shuttle immediately." Zarbok's vision began to blur as Plex dragged him back toward the shuttle. More shots rang out, some pinging off the shuttle's shields, others kicking up dirt around them. As they reached the shuttle door, Zarbok turned his head to look back at the humans. Their faces were a mixture of fear, determination, and something else, curiosity. Their officer was shouting orders, some soldiers advancing while others held their positions. The shuttle door closed behind them as Trelva immediately took the controls and lifted off, accelerating rapidly upward. "The captain's wounded," Plex shouted, laying Zarbok on the floor of the shuttle. Projectile weapon to the chest. Zarbok coughed, blue blood flecking his lips. "They shot me," he said, his voice weak with shock. "I offered them knowledge, and they shot me." Trelva's voice was tight with anger as she piloted the shuttle back toward their main vessel. "The humans will pay for this, Captain. I promise you." As consciousness began to fade, Zarbok thought about the irony of the situation. He had come to Earth expecting either worship or curiosity. Instead, he got fear and violence. Perhaps they should have studied humans more carefully before approaching. Perhaps. The darkness took him before he could finish the thought. On the bridge of the peaceful venture, chaos reigned as the shuttle docked and medical personnel rushed to retrieve their wounded captain. "Full retreat," ordered Trelva, taking command. "Set course for Valerian space, maximum speed." As the ship accelerated away from Earth, breaking orbit and shooting toward the stars, Trelva stood rigid at the command console, her eyes fixed on the receding blue planet. "Record everything," she ordered. "Every transmission, every image, every reading. The Council needs to know what happened here." Laurel looked up from his station, his expression grim. "And what did happen here, Commander?" Trelva's eyes narrowed. "War happened, Laurel. The humans just declared war on the entire galaxy. And they don't even know it yet. The medical bay of the Galactic Council headquarters on Valeria Prime hummed with advanced technology. Zarbok floated in a regeneration tank, his gray-blue skin gradually healing as nutrient-rich liquid worked its magic. Outside the tank, a collection of the most powerful beings in the galaxy had gathered, their faces grim as they reviewed the footage from Earth. "Courageous," hissed Counselor Jalzin, a reptilian being whose scales shifted from emerald to crimson with his rising anger. "Unprovoked violence against a diplomatic envoy? This cannot stand." Admiral Vezra, a battle-hardened veteran of the Proxima conflicts, nodded in agreement. "The humans must be taught a lesson. I recommend immediate military action." The oldest member of the Council, Grandmaster Pylok, raised a withered hand for silence. Unlike the others, his species communicated through color patterns that rippled across his translucent skin. The patterns now showed deep concern. "We must not be hasty," Pylok's translator device conveyed. "One incident, however grievous, does not justify war with an emerging species." Trelva, who had been granted special permission to address the Council, stepped forward. "With respect, Grandmaster, this was not a misunderstanding. Our communications were clear. Our vessel was unarmed." Captain Zarbok presented himself peacefully. Her voice cracked slightly. "They shot him while he offered a gift." The medical officer, Dr. Neva, approached the gathering. Her 6 arms carried various diagnostic instruments, and her compound eyes reflected the light in fractured patterns. "The captain will recover," she announced. The primitive projectile missed his primary heart by centimeters. Another day in the regeneration tank, and he should be fully healed. "And his mental state?" asked Counselor Jalzin. Dr. Neva's mandibles clicked nervously. "That remains to be seen. Trauma of this nature can have unpredictable effects." Inside the tank, Zarbok's eyes remained closed, But his mind was far from inactive. Dreams and memories swirled together, the shock on the faces of the humans as he emerged from the shuttle, the cold determination in the eyes of the soldier who shot him, the look of betrayal he himself must have worn as he fell. These images cycled endlessly, gradually transforming from confusion and hurt into something harder, colder. 3 days later, Zarbak was released from medical care. He walked into the council chamber unannounced, his normally immaculate uniform replaced by the simple gray garb of a convalescent. The council members fell silent as he entered. Captain Zarbak, Grandmaster Pylok greeted him, color patterns showing relief. "We are pleased to see you recovered." "Am I recovered?" Zarbak asked, his voice hollow. "I'm not sure what recovery looks like after being shot for offering friendship." High Admiral Vezra leaned forward. "The Council has been debating the appropriate response to this aggression. I have advocated for immediate military intervention." "No," Zarbak said firmly. The Council members exchanged glances. "No?" repeated Councillor Jalzin. "You oppose retaliation?" Zarbak's 3 eyes narrowed. "I oppose someone else handling this matter. This is personal now. I request command of a response mission." A murmur ran through the council chamber. "Captain," Grandmaster Pylok began cautiously, "your emotional involvement might cloud your judgment in this matter." "My emotional involvement is precisely why I should lead the response," Zarbak countered. "I understand the humans now in a way none of you do. They responded to our peace with violence, but not out of malice, out of fear." His voice took on a harder edge. "They need to learn that their fear is justified, but their violence is not." The council debated for hours, with Zarbak refusing to back down. Eventually, a compromise was reached. Zarbak would return to Earth, not with a diplomatic vessel, but with a small fleet. Their mission would be to demonstrate the consequences of attacking a Galactic Council representative without resorting to full-scale war. "This is not punishment," Zarbak explained to his newly assembled command staff aboard the dreadnought Righteous Response. "This is education." Trelva, now promoted to captain of her own vessel in the fleet, looked skeptical. "How exactly does one educate a species that shoots first and doesn't bother asking questions later?" Zarbak smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "By speaking their language, Trelva, not English or Mandarin, but the language of power. Humans respect strength above all else. We need to show them ours." Over the next 3 weeks, the fleet prepared for their return to Earth. Zarbak immersed himself in human culture, history, and psychology, studying everything from their world wars to their entertainment. He became particularly fascinated by the concept of shock and awe, a military doctrine aimed at overwhelming the enemy with spectacular displays of power. Elegant in its brutality, he remarked to Laurel, who had requested transfer to the command ship to serve under Zarbak again. "Humans understand symbolism. We will give them a symbol they won't forget." When the fleet of 7 Valerian warships emerged from hyperspace in Earth orbit, the reaction was immediate and predictable. Earth's military forces went on high alert, and emergency broadcasts filled the airwaves. Zarbak monitored it all with detached interest. "They are scrambling fighter jets," reported the tactical officer, a stocky Valerian named Drool. "Primitive nuclear missiles are being prepared for launch." "Activate the suppression field," Zarbak ordered calmly. Throughout the fleet, specialized equipment powered up, generating an electromagnetic field that rendered most of Earth's electronic weapons systems temporarily inoperable. Fighter jets lost power and glided back to their bases. Missile silos went dark. Communications networks flickered and failed. Global command and control systems neutralized. Admiral Drool confirmed, using Zarbak's field promotion title. "Excellent," Zarbak said, standing from his command chair. "Now broadcast on all frequencies, all languages. I want every human on that planet to hear me." Plex, who had also transferred to serve under Zarbak again, configured the communication systems. "Ready, sir?" Zarbak took a deep breath and began to speak. "People of Earth, you know me, or you should. I am Zarbak, formerly captain of the diplomatic vessel Peaceful Venture, now admiral of the Galactic Council Defense Fleet. 3 of your months ago, I came to you in peace. I offered friendship, knowledge, and a place among the civilized species of the galaxy. His voice hardened. You responded by shooting me in the chest while I offered you a gift. Zarbok paused, letting the words sink in. I have returned, as you can see, and I have not come alone. The 7 ships currently in orbit around your world represent a tiny fraction of the Galactic Council's military capacity. Each one could reduce your largest cities to ash within minutes. Right now. We have neutralized your ability to harm us, just as we could neutralize your ability to exist. Another calculated pause. But that is not why we are here. We did not come to destroy you, though you gave us cause. We came to educate you, to show you the reality of your position in the cosmos. You are not alone, you are not the strongest, and you are certainly not the wisest species among the stars. On the bridge, Trelva's voice came through on a private channel. The humans are attempting to restore their systems. Some military installations are regaining power. Let them, Zarbok replied. They need to feel they have some control. He continued his broadcast. To demonstrate our intentions, we will now display our capability. Observe the uninhabited island at the following coordinates. Zarbok nodded to Drool, who transmitted targeting data to the fleet. The smallest vessel in their formation, a precision strike cruiser, moved into position over a tiny, barren island in the Pacific Ocean. The island you are about to see destroyed contains no human life, no significant ecosystems, and no valuable resources, Zarbok continued. We have chosen it precisely because its destruction will harm nothing but your pride. On his command, a beam of concentrated energy lanced down from the strike cruiser. When it touched the island, the result was spectacular. The entire landmass, approximately 1 square kilometer, simply vanished. No explosion, no debris, just a perfect circular depression in the ocean that rapidly filled with water. That, Zarbok said into the stunned silence that followed, was a demonstration at minimum power. I trust we understand each other now. Around the world, humans stared at their screens in horror and fascination as satellite imagery confirmed what had happened. An island, though small and insignificant, had been erased from existence. Now, Zarbok continued, his voice softening slightly, we will try this again. In 24 of your hours, I will descend to your United Nations headquarters in New York. I will come once again in peace. I will bring, once again, knowledge and the offer of friendship. You have until then to decide how you wish to proceed. With that, he ended the transmission. Trelva's voice came through again. Was that really necessary, Zarbok? Destroying their island? Absolutely, Zarbok replied without hesitation. Humans respect nothing so much as the power to destroy. But they also admire restraint in using that power. We have shown them both. The next 24 hours were tense. Earth governments held emergency sessions. Military leaders drafted desperate plans, only to discard them when they realized the futility of fighting against such technology. Religious leaders called for prayer, scientists for rationality, ordinary citizens for everything from surrender to suicidal resistance. Zarbok watched it all unfold with a mixture of fascination and sadness. They really are remarkable creatures, he observed to Laurel during a private meal. Their capacity for both fear and courage, for hatred and love, for destruction and creation, it's almost without parallel. Yet you threatened to destroy them, Laurel pointed out. Zarbok shook his head. I threatened nothing. I merely demonstrated what we could do if we chose to. There's a difference. When the appointed time came, Zarbok prepared once again for a diplomatic mission. This time, however, his ceremonial robes were replaced by a formal military uniform, complete with the medals and insignia of his hastily bestowed admiralty. No gifts this time? Plex asked as they boarded the shuttle. Oh, I'm still bringing the seed of knowledge, Zarbok replied, patting a pocket where the same ornate box from before was stored. But this time they will accept it with gratitude. The shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere without interference. Below, the United Nations complex in New York was visible, surrounded by what appeared to be every law enforcement and military unit the humans could muster. Beyond the security cordon, massive crowds had gathered, held back by barriers. Quite the reception, Trelva observed dryly from the pilot's seat. Indeed, Zarbok agreed. Let's not keep them waiting. The shuttle landed precisely on the marked area in front of the United Nations building. As the door opened, Zarbok emerged alone, his tall figure imposing in the formal uniform. Before him, a delegation of human leaders waited, their faces a mixture of fear, defiance, and curiosity. One stepped forward, an older human female wearing formal attire. Admiral Zarbok, I am Secretary General Ayesha Mbeki of the United Nations. On behalf of humanity, I welcome you to Earth. Zarbok inclined his head slightly. A considerable improvement on my last welcome, Secretary General. I appreciate the change in tone. The human had the grace to look embarrassed. The incident in Washington was regrettable. We were unprepared for contact. And now? Zarbok asked, gesturing to the military presence around them. Now we are listening, she replied simply. What followed was the diplomatic meeting that should have occurred months earlier. Inside the United Nations General Assembly, Zarbok addressed representatives from every nation on Earth. He explained the Galactic Council, its purposes and principles. He outlined the benefits of membership, shared knowledge, technology, cultural exchange, and protection. The galaxy is not always a friendly place, he told them. There are species far less forgiving than Valerians. Had one of their representatives been shot, your cities would already be smoking craters. Throughout his address, Zarbok was careful to balance threat with promise, strength with compassion. He needed the humans to fear the consequences of aggression while desiring the rewards of cooperation. When he finally presented the seed of knowledge, the same gift he had offered before being shot, it was accepted with reverence by the Secretary General. This contains the equivalent of approximately 500 years of scientific advancement by your current rate of progress, Zarbok explained. Medical treatments for diseases you consider incurable, energy technologies that will end your dependence on fossil fuels, materials science that will transform your manufacturing capabilities, all freely given, with the understanding that you will use this knowledge responsibly. And if we don't? Asked one of the human representatives bluntly. Zarbok's three eyes fixed on the speaker. Then we will know we made a mistake in offering it. But I don't believe we have. Humanity has great potential despite its flaws, or perhaps because of them. The negotiations continued for days. Terms were set for Earth's probationary membership in the Galactic Council. Valerian observers would remain in orbit, monitoring how the gift of knowledge was implemented. Cultural exchanges would begin immediately, with human representatives invited to visit Valeria Prime and other Council worlds. On the final day, as Zarbok prepared to return to his fleet, Secretary General Mbeki approached him privately. I must ask, she said hesitantly, was all this, the fleet, the island, was it really necessary? Couldn't we have resolved the misunderstanding peacefully? Zarbok considered her question seriously. Perhaps. But humans respect power first, then extend trust later. I needed your respect before I could earn your trust. And now? Do you have both? Your respect, certainly, Zarbok replied. Your trust remains to be seen. But I'm optimistic. As his shuttle lifted off from Earth for the last time, Zarbok looked down at the blue-green world with mixed emotions. His mission was, technically, a success. Earth would join the galactic community. The knowledge contained in the seed would transform human civilization for the better. Peace had been established, albeit through the threat of overwhelming force. Yet something troubled him. The scar on his chest where the human bullet had entered his flesh had healed, but the wound to his idealism remained. He had always believed that peaceful contact was possible with any species willing to look up at the stars with wonder. Now he knew better. Sometimes peace required power. Sometimes respect preceded understanding. Course laid in for the fleet, Admiral Trelva reported as they approached the command ship. "Thank you, Captain," Zarbak replied, still gazing down at Earth. "You know, despite everything, I find I rather like humans." Trelva looked at him in surprise. "After what they did to you." "Because of what they did," Zarbak explained. "They were afraid, yet they stood their ground. They were outmatched, yet they maintained their dignity. They made a terrible mistake, yet they found the courage to make amends." He smiled slightly. "In many ways they remind me of us long ago when we were young and frightened and brave." As the Valerian fleet prepared to depart Earth orbit, leaving behind only 2 observer vessels, Zarbak drafted his final report to the Galactic Council. First contact with humanity, ultimately successful, he dictated. Recommendation: continued cultural exchange and careful monitoring of technological implementation. Probability of peaceful integration, 70% and rising. Personal note: I came to Earth in peace. They shot me. I came back with fury. But in the end, we found something better than vengeance. We found understanding." He paused, then added, "Request reassignment to Earth observation detail. These humans bear watching. Not because they are dangerous, though they certainly are, but because they might just surprise us all, including themselves." The report complete, Zarbak gave the order, and the Valerian fleet vanished into hyperspace, leaving Earth forever changed by their visit. On the surface below, humans gathered around screens and devices, examining the first fragments of knowledge from the seed. The new medicines were already being synthesized. Clean energy prototypes were under construction. In schools and universities around the world, a new subject had been added to the curriculum: galactic civics. The textbook began with a simple statement: the universe is vast, ancient, and filled with life. Some of it is friendly. Some is not. All of it deserves our respect. This is the first lesson humanity learned when we took our place among the stars.